Hey guys, we're really excited today here at J.C. Lewis Statesboro. We've got the all-new Maverick in. We've got an XLT Premium here with the FX4 package. So we've done a lot of research. We figured out our tire size. We've got the lift in stock. We went with the Rough Country 2-inch lift. And so we're all very excited to put it on. Let's get this thing beefed up and ready to go.
So we start off lifting the vehicle off the ground, and then we have to take all the clips off of the cowl under the hood here. That way we can get to the bolts on top of the struts. And we go ahead and take the bolts off of the top of the struts before we raise it up to get to the rest. We go ahead and take all the wheels and tires off. So we're going to be replacing them with bigger, more aggressive tires. And we start off by taking the axle nut off. So we got the nut off of the tie rod ends and then worked it out of the knuckle. Now we took the upper portion of the sway bar link off of our strut. And now we're removing the hardware that's holding the brake lines onto the strut. And now we're removing the hardware holding the struts onto the knuckle. And we do the same exact steps for the other side. So we use the spring compressor to remove the caps to get our springs off of our struts. That way we could install the spacers here, and then we will use the spring compressor again to put it all back together. And once we get all that put together, we have another spacer that we install on top of the strut. We reversed the process we did earlier to get the struts put back in place. We'll go ahead and slide the strut to where it needs to be, and then we'll go ahead and put the nuts on top first. That way it'll hold it in place. Now that we have the strut tightened down on top, we can go ahead and maneuver the knuckle to get it sitting in position on the strut. Then we can go ahead and get the hardware put in. And we reinstalled all the ABS lines. And then now we're going to reinstall the outer tie rod ends. Then we reinstall the axle nut. And now we are reinstalling the stabilizer links. And And now we're doing the same thing. We're maneuvering the knuckle to get it sitting properly in the strut. That way we can install our hardware. Then we reinstall the stabilizer link. And then we put the ABS lines back in position. And then now we are reinstalling the outer tie rod in. And then finally we reinstall the brake line hardware. So here we're removing the rear shock absorber nut and then the rear arm to spindle nut. That way we can get the spring out. It's best to have a jack underneath, like I have here. That way when you do get the hardware out, the arm doesn't just go shooting down and everything comes crashing apart. And so once we have the spring out, we get the rubber stoppers off of the arm, and then there's actually a spacer that we install on with the rubber stopper before we put the spring back in. Once we got the spacers on and we got the spring back in position, we go ahead and put the jack underneath and jack it up to where we can get the rear shock absorber nuts reinstalled, and then also get the arm back into position to where the hardware will go back into the knuckle. We removed the two bolts here towards the front, and we actually have to lower it down and install spacers in there as well. And then reinstall it with new hardware. The spring wasn't sitting exactly where I wanted it to, so I removed it and repositioned it, and then now we're reinstalling it. Now we have the shock absorber hardware and the knuckle hardware reinstalled. We go ahead and reinstall the rear stabilizer link. We remove the shock absorber hardware and the knuckle hardware, just as we did on the other side. And we remove the rubber stoppers. That way we can install our spacers. Then we use our jack again to raise the arm. That way we can reinstall the hardware on the shock absorber and for the knuckle hardware. Then we removed the 2 bolts towards the front of the vehicle again, installed our spacers, and then reinstalled with the new hardware. Then we reinstalled the stabilizer link on this side as well. And now all that's left is to mount and balance some new tires and then reinstall the wheels. And before we take it out on the road, we go ahead and do a four-wheel alignment. That way we don't ruin our brand new tires that we just put on.
All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video as much as we enjoyed doing this. Obviously, this was our first Maverick here. It had the FX4 package, so here in Statesboro, we got to lift it. So we went with a rough country 2-inch lift. Basically, it's really not a lift. It's kind of a level, but it goes all the way around. So all four struts got the installation of that 2-inch puck. And what it did was it allowed us to put a bigger, more aggressive tire on it that gave it that beefier stance. This measures in at right at 30.5 inches. It fits fine. We've got no scrubbing. And again, we were just all very happy with the way it gave it a stance, a more aggressive truck look, and then it performed great off-road. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you want to upfit yours, come get with us. We've got most of the parts in stock at all times, and we'd be glad to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.